Cue in the intro music. There we go.
Thank you for joining us for live paranormal radio. From the paranormal to the unexplained, it all happens here. It all happens here. Looking to enhance your radio experience? Participate in our live video chat 24/7 with our live paranormal radio show hosts and other like-minded people. Live. Paranormal.com, the only interactive social chat room supported by Full Interaction Media. Stop by now and join the fun. Stop by now and join the fun.
Now, cue in Erik's intro. Let's see if they do it. I guess not, but they will add that in later. Hey, guys, it's Elisa Med who's here. I want to give you a little backstory here. Right now, I'm in College Station camping because Annika, my youngest daughter, has a ring day tomorrow, and apparently this is huge at Texas A&M. And she told us that if we start tomorrow, which is ring day, then the usual 1 hour and 45-minute drive will take 6 hours because there's like 50 freaking thousand family members and friends driving in from Houston to be here. So we've got a jump start on them. I'm using my cell phone. Hope it works. Anyway, if you guys don't already know, Erik Medhus and Kim Babcock are on the line. Erik is my 21-year-old son who died a few years ago, and he is here to help you guys navigate through the human experience. We are very, very excited that our radio show is now on iTunes, so if you want to subscribe to our podcast series, please do. So first of all, we will, Erik will first talk a little bit about something that we talked about last show, about grief, missing our loved ones, but this time we want to focus on how we can continue to have a relationship with them. What sort of communication techniques can we use? So we'll start out with that, and then we'll take calls. But now I want to introduce Kim. Kim, how can people connect to you?
Hello. Well, you can connect with me primarily through my website, and that's kimbabcock.net. You can send me an email and possibly book a session too. So stay in contact. Let me know what you think of what we got going on, and if you have any suggestions for future radio shows. Also, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. So hit up the social media side too. So excited to be here, and Erik has a lot to say.
Hi, sweetie. I miss you, Erik.
He says, hi, Mom. I hope you're having fun. I love you.
I am now because your papa just handed me a glass of Cabernet, so it's all good.
Oh, nice. Nice. It's all good in the hood.
It's all good in the hood. You want to start talking about how our wonderful listeners can continue to have a relationship with their loved ones?
He says, why not? He was talking about this earlier today, actually, explaining this to a client, and he kind of was showing new perspective, and it was really fascinating. He's trying to help this person maintain her connection with her son, and also she was trying to help other family members that were a little more closed off. She was trying to help them connect to their loved ones too. And, the explanation that Erik was giving, first, he wants to talk about some of the emotions that you go through when you lose a loved one. Oftentimes, you go through emotions, like hopelessness. You begin to feel hopeless in life, in certain situations, especially if certain situations involved that person that you lost. So if it's a certain activity you used to do with them and now they're not here in the physical sense anymore, you may feel hopeless in that activity without having them there. And that's just an example, he says, but there's so many other emotions that one experiences when moving through grief. And
yes,
navigating
Erik, you've told me that these emotions, these lower emotions like expectation and doubt and hopelessness and sorrow are very dense, and it's really, really hard for you guys to just like work your way through all that density to get to us.
Exactly. And, you know, the image he's showing me is it's like walking through spider webs on top of spider webs on top of spider webs. It's so hard to try to navigate through. He says, when you're like me, so meaning in the spiritual realm, those emotions, those thick, heavy emotions are like those spider webs. We can't really get through their vibration in order to get to you. So you have to, just as we have to work to make that connection to you, it's hard, but you have to do the same. He says you have to be able to shift your vibration emotionally to be able to allow us in and connect with us.
And how do they do that, Erik?
That's what he's starting to explain. He says oftentimes people, they begin to go over the past and go over and just replay things over and over, and the way they lost somebody, even if it was a car accident, they imagine it up and they think about it over and over and over. So they sort of replay that over and over. So he goes, what's the message that you're hearing here, Mom? It's hard to do, but it's all about being in the now. So when you replay those over and over and you focus on the loss and what you don't have, it's really hard to navigate out of those emotions. But if you can turn your perspective and look at, he says, I know it's hard. He's putting his hands up, like if you were to say, you know, put them up. He's putting his hands up. He says, I know it's hard. And it's asking a lot, but instead of playing that over and over, those scenarios, and focusing on the losses and the voids, focus on the present, what you have right now, and sort of like emotionally what you're learning from this. If you can find the purpose in it, this will sort of propel your healing, he says. It will help you, get a jump start. And then in that, he says, in your healing, your vibration shifts, and then the communication continues. He says, well
now you told me, and you can maybe explain this, you've told me that it really helps if you, through earphones, listen to binaural beats between 14 and 16, and I can't remember if it's megahertz or hertz, but it only comes in one or the other. Does that help you stay in the present, or how does that help? Because, boy, when I put those binaural beats on, I had all sorts of incoming. My mother, my father, just all of the Erik. It was just incredible.
Wow. Yeah, he says, well, part of it, too, is the intentions that you set with that. So he says the binaural beats are really grounding, and grounding brings you to the here and now. So staying grounded is really important, because that's what fosters your connection both ways, to the spiritual realm and to the earthly realm. He says, he's starting to talk really fast. He says,
slow down, buddy.
Yeah, he's got a lot to say. So he says the binaural beats are the vibration that they give you, and the way you can connect to the beat kind of brings you right into the now moment, and kind of aligns you in the now. So, but think about it, when you go into it, you set your intentions that way. So you could play other music too, and have the same intentions and get the same effect. And then he's going, it's all up here, and he's pointing to his temple. And he's also saying, this is a little more of a bold, stern statement from him. He says it takes action. A lot of people think and envision, but if you don't put action behind it, you're living in the spiritual realm. You're existing there, but you have to connect it to your physical self, your physical realm. So if you're always thinking, I'm going to get better, this is going to get better, but you don't actually take the action, the physical part of it, to do that too, take care of yourself, take care of your health, then it's really, that's a strong statement. He says it's almost like a lost cause. You are a physical being, so you have to take action too. So,
well, he also told me, and I think you told me this, Erik, and this brings that physicality into play, and also puts you in the now. Is you can set a cup of coffee and 2 cups of coffee, and just assume that your loved one is sitting across the table from you, and just have a conversation, and then listen to their responses. So it's almost like putting some physicality in it, plus you're right here now, talking to your loved one. Would that help?
Oh, yeah, exactly. He says it's just like if it's a child that you lost and you used to read them books, you can still go lay on their bed and read them a book. There's no reason to believe that they're not still listening, he says. Yeah. So it's understanding you're a physical being, I'm a spiritual being, so now we can still coexist. We can still have conversation. And he says one of the biggest keys in that is trusting that process, trusting that it's happening, and trusting yourself in it. That's all it takes. And once you take that leap of faith in trusting it, what he's talking about is, when you hear that response, when you're sitting there having that coffee and you hear your loved one talk back, whether it's in your own voice in your head or in their voice, just trusting it. And when you do, it's like a tunnel opens up, a connection is born, he says, and then you can do whatever speaks to that relationship to strengthen it, to continue. So if you used to ride bikes together, he says, take off and ride your bike and invite them along for the ride. Talk to them while you're riding your bike, whatever it may be.
Now, can I ask you about ways to open up our channeling abilities? For example, one person told me you can take this substance called Ormus, I think it is, ORMUS. I think it's got gold in it or something. I don't know. Must, because it's supposed to be really expensive. Does that help? Or are there any things that we should take or avoid taking in order to increase our ability to channel our loved ones?
That's a great question. When you said, is there anything we should avoid, he actually yelled sugar, and then, avoid sugar, which is nearly impossible. But sugar, he says, sugar for you is going to sound like mumbo jumbo. When you're trying to hear your loved ones, it's going to sound like he says, you're not going to be able to make out what they're saying. So sugar it kind of just adds static to the process. So that supplement that you mentioned, he does make me feel like this is stimulating to like the higher chakras, the crown chakra, the third eye, and possibly even the throat chakra. Because when you mentioned that, he's taken all the energy to the head and saying it is effective in opening you up. So other ways, he says, what's most important is your intentions. So if you sit down and take whatever substance to, herbal supplement, whatever, to connect with your loved ones, your intentions are going to be key in it. But if you leave it wide open, like I'm just going to do this and see what happens, it'll be a less effective process. So if you're wanting to connect with your loved ones, first of all, begin to recall memories. Like pull up an old memory. How did you feel at that time, at that moment in time when you were with them? How did you, what did you feel like with them? What was the weather like? What was the conversation like? So begin to identify with what their energy feels like. And this is, he says, it's very easy for you guys to do if you, again, go to your memory bank. You pull up a memory and remember when we did this, remember when we sat on that rock and we talked forever. So that you remember what you felt like when you were with me, because you're going off of feeling. And when you do that, you connect to vibration. Then, when I come around, you can understand my vibration based on what you're feeling. So for all of you, that's going to be, he says, across the board, that's going to be a really easy method to start working with to try to channel your loved ones. So if you miss your dad really bad, think about a memory that you had with him. It could be good or bad. Just how did you feel when you were with him? What did you feel like? What did his presence feel like to you? And remember that and begin to identify that. And that's how you're going to sort of make that correlation when you're channeling your loved ones, he says.
Okay, well, to sum up what you've said so far, you got to have some physicality. You got to try to dispense of the negative emotions like expectation and grief and doubt. Kind of take that leap of faith. Assume that you are talking to them and having a conversation with them. Ground yourself as much as possible, even if it means going out and hugging a tree or walking barefoot in the grass, and get in touch with the memories of the feelings you used to have for their energy.
He says exactly.
And maybe try Ormus, binaural beats, Ormus, dispense with sugar.
Yeah.
Too bad.
He says,
anything else before we take callers? Well, I try, man. I can't believe I remember it. You know, I can't remember what I had for breakfast. But so, are you ready to take callers, Sweetie Pie?
He says, "Yeah, Mom. I want to see who we can help." Taking a very soft, gentle approach.
Oh. All right. Well, I want to remind you guys that I'm very grateful to liveparanormal.com for giving us a platform from which to air this radio show. We're going to start out with a caller from the 347 area code. 347 area code. Hello, who am I speaking with?
Hi, guys. It's Jillian. How are you?
I am doing fine.
There.
You got it right on the money there. How about that? What would you like to ask Erik?
I want to ask Erik about California. It's been on my mind for about 4 years, and I keep saying I'm going to move. And, I mean, it's gone as far as, you know, just seeing all kinds of signs, even people asking me if I'm from there. So should I just take a leap? I don't have a job here. You know, I guess my doubts are probably keeping me here. You know, will I survive in California job-wise? How would it, you know, is it going to be easy getting there? You know, stuff like that.
That's a pretty important question. What do you think, Erik?
Yeah, he says he's being very direct with you, but trying to be as helpful as possible. And he says, he says, if you listen to yourself, like record yourself and then play it back to yourself, you would hear a lot of doubt. And, of course, anytime making a big move, you're going to be apprehensive, maybe fearful, even have doubt. But if you make it your mantra, then you can very well manifest an experience that you don't want. He says, instead of every time you think about the move, acknowledging your fears and your worries, acknowledge all the things that are going to go right. Welcome all the new opportunities that are going to be given to you. He says, yes, the move is going to be good for you. It's going to be smooth. He said, and then he just said the word successful all by itself. But he says it's important that you actually believe that, because he says you talk yourself out of every sign, every push, every feeling that you get to possibly consider that. You sort of, okay, well, here on this hand I have all these signs and good feelings, but over here, here's all my questions. So you kind of, you pull back. You keep pulling back.
Yeah,
so,
it's because, you know, I don't drive, and it's like, how am I going to go to a place where people drive all the time? But, the last time I went there, it wasn't so bad getting around. But, all of the stuff going on in my head. It's, I am getting the, the push to
move.
That
sounds like some good advice. You can do that, can't you, Gillian? I know you can.
Yeah. And, is it going to happen within the next 2-3 months? Or should I wait until after my lease is up in August?
I think we're looking at closer to 6 months. He's drawing the number 6, so anywhere between 6 and 8 months, but I think it's closer to 6.
Not 6 decades, so that's good, right?
Okay, so that will be when my lease is up then.
Yeah,
thank you guys.
Timing. You're welcome, Jillian. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah. Thanks again.
Thank you.
All right, let's see who we have from the 330 area code. A very patient caller. Hi, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm great. My name is Kiki, and I'm very excited to finally get a chance to talk to Erik.
Hey, Kiki. Hi, Kiki.
Yeah. Hey. So, my question and a half to Erik is, or comment is that I pretty much felt like I wrote myself like a bum life spiritual contract. So like a spiritual Groundhog Day every single day.
Girl. I feel your pain. I know what you're talking about.
Right. I mean, very depressive, very, very depressive. So recently I decided to just take the bull by the horn and rewrite my life contract on parchment paper and everything, kind of like a decree for a fresh start. So I kind of wanted Erik's idea as to, hey, if this is, really going to work for me based on, what I put down. And then on the other end of that was just where am I from? Why am I here? What was the whole reason for this Groundhog's Day, spiritual mission, so to speak?
Okay. First of all,
what do you say, buddy?
When you came in and started talking, Kiki, he's just going, whoa, and he's pointing to his heart. So you must be a very loving person because he's acknowledging that. You must be a very selfless person because he's like, whoa, he's just acknowledging how big your heart is. So it's important that he expresses that to you.
That's so sweet.
It just keeps going, whoa. So I don't know what it is, but he's very fascinated with your heart, big heart, he says.
Is that what you're saying, Erik? Erik, is that what you're referring to?
He says, yeah. He just keeps going, whoa. He just thinks that you're very, he goes, do you know that? Do you know how big your heart is?
Yeah, it gets walked on a lot, but I'm very selfless and loving to people.
Oh, wow. Okay, so with your contract, this is a great question because Erik says this is going to help a lot of people because so many people have these types of questions. You can design your contract one way or another for yourself. You can design experiences, too, to have all along the way. But you also have to acknowledge the very real aspect of that wild card. And when he's talking about the wild card, he says that's free will. The free will is that wild card. So you can design a contract one way or another, but you always have free will to sort of execute it this way or that way. So for you, in exactly what you described, taking the bull by the horns and, okay, I'm going to take charge, he says that in itself is a case in point as to why we have free will, because you can change your life. That's that physicality, Mom, that we were talking about. He says it takes action. It takes physical action to want to have that change and experience it. So it's hard because you have these depressed feelings, and it can be really hard to pull yourself out of that, but it takes the physicality. So for you, that physicality was writing it down. But he says this is a perfect example of why we have free will, because I feel stuck, I feel like I'm not learning, I feel like I'm not moving forward or not even being able to help others. whatever it may be, and you can decide to change the colors that you're painting with in your life. So he says that's what free will is all about, and you have found a way to use it in a brilliant way. He says what you did was brilliant. It was perfect because it took all the perfect measures. It took emotion. It took that physicality. It took your vibrational shift to change your contract. So people often think that everything's predetermined, and because you have a contract, you can't change anything. Well, yeah, your destiny is predetermined, he says, but you can change the way you experience your journey all along the way. So it's like you can take path A, B, C, D, and experience life in different ways, but ultimately your destiny is going to be the same. So
what you wrote on the parchment paper is that cool? Is that okay with? Or she's got down a good plan?
He says absolutely, because it came from emotion and it came like from drive. It was like he says for you it was a defining moment of like pure realization of what you do and don't want for yourself. And
so what's her next step?
He says implementing, like taking the steps, being physical behind it. Old habits. He keeps saying old habits, changing, losing, getting rid of old habits. That's huge. And if you want to see your life change for the better, if you feel like you've been stuck in a depressed state, what are some of the old habits that are keeping you there? Is it just the routine, your day in and day out? You've got to put that physicality behind it. Get rid of some of your old habits. That's the first step, he says. But he says this is very powerful and very effective and accepted, he says. So hopefully that answers your question. That's really cool. That's the first time I've ever heard of anybody doing something like that. So that's very, very fascinating to me.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Great, Kiki.
You're welcome.
Thanks
for calling in.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
All right.
Wow, how cool.
That was great. I think that will help a lot of people, I think. You know,
yeah,
I really
so many
do.
people ask that question, and so many people feel almost a sense of hopelessness. Well, why should I even try in life if everything's predetermined, you know?
I know, but there's that free will.
Yeah. So that can be challenging when you look at it that way, but
sure.
Mr. Med
All right, we got somebody
has a good answer.
I know. We have the 313 area code. Who am I speaking with?
Hello?
Hi.
Hello.
Sorry about my voice. I feel I'm not a 4-pack-a-day smoker. I just am getting over a crud. So, who is this?
This is Erik from Seattle.
Hey,
Cool.
Erik from
Welcome.
Seattle. Erik with a C, right?
Erik with a C, right? I spoke with you all about a month ago, and it was just mind-blowing. So now I have a little bit of a left. I'm doing great. How are you all doing?
Doing
Very good. Thank you.
Awesome. Erik, good to talk to you again, as always, brother.
He says, Eric's my man, and he saluted you.
Right back at you. So I have kind of a left field question that I haven't heard anybody touch on anywhere on the blogs or anything. It's regarding numerology and the energy of numbers. I personally, for about the past 5 years, see 11, 111, just the number 11 itself. I'll be walking down the street, and it'll be on the back of a taxi cab. I'll pause the TV, and it'll be just there. So my question
That's so
is,
weird, Erik, because
and
even before Erik died, I always saw 11:11 when I was about to lay my head down on the pillow. 11:11, 11:11, and I thought, What is this 11:11? But I'm sorry. Go ahead, Erik.
No, so I'm sure, like if you looked it up, there are as many explanations behind it as there are, times that you see it. So my question is, what does first of all, is there anything to numerology, or is it just another thing that people have made up to kind of make sense of it all? What does the 11 and 1111 and all that specifically mean, and what, if anything, are my guides trying to get me to notice by always making me aware of it?
Interesting. Very cool question.
Hey.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's responding to you the whole time that you're explaining and talking. He says that there is purpose behind it. He says numbers have vibration, and vice versa. So and he says 0 through 9. So 11, he says, okay, your numbers, he says, they do have vibration, they do have meaning. It's not numerology. Numerology isn't just made up to sort of make sense of something else. He says, okay, 11, the number 11. I said, what does this mean for Erik? He says, is when you see it, no matter where, it's, he calls it an opening. So it's like your doorway to the other side. It's he calls it divine intervention, but he doesn't really like that description. He kind of like squishes his face up when he says that.
Well, it sounds preventative, almost like a warning, like uh-oh.
It's awareness is what he calls it. It's like when you see it. Okay, he's speaking with picture, so it's like when he shows it to me, I see the number 11, and then I see, that image that we've all seen of like a portal to some other galaxy. So it's divine connection opening up to the other side. Think about the synchronicity in it. Okay, he says now to try to translate it and make sense of it, whether it's 1111 or 333, whatever it is, 222. He says, what's been on your mind lately? What questions have you been asking the universe? What's really been pressing to you lately? And that's the synchronicity. That's the way you're going to get your reassurance, is by seeing those synchronicities. For me, personally, it's always 5:28 because that's my birthday. I always freaking catch the clock at 5:28, or it's my change I'm getting back, or some craziness. But it's, so then I'll say, okay, well, what question have I recently asked the universe? What am I trying to figure out here, whatever? And then I apply, okay, that's always my sense of reassurance, and knowing my guides are with me and the universe is helping to line things up for me as I've been asking. So he's saying a very similar message to you, that 11, he says, is a very, very high vibration in itself. The double one is a very high vibration.
Even my name adds up to 11. So it's just blowing my mind. Yeah.
That's
interesting.
Cool. Very cool. He goes, he says, well, that's no surprise. But
yes, it's not.
it's know that it's basically the other side trying to communicate with you and grab your awareness. So pay attention to what you've been thinking about, contemplating, asking the universe. If you're going for a jog and you're trying to figure out what decisions to make it work, learn how, I guess, to correlate that when you see it. So
and what
hopefully
should
that
you do
helps
with that
you
information?
Okay, so a lot of this talk ties into the law of attraction then.
What was that, Erik?
Yeah.
Did you say, can he talk about the law of attraction?
So that kind of ties pretty much into the law of attraction then.
He's kind of laughing. He goes, well, yeah, if you want to talk, he says, if you want to call it that, if you want to talk about it like that, he says, yeah, I guess it would be the law of attraction because you put it out there to the universe and the universe is going to respond. So it is what you're attracting to yourself. So you just have to be able to. So it's telling
Erik, be aware this is the time to manifest whatever you've been asking from the universe? Is that what this is all about?
Yeah, exactly. Yep, exactly.
Okay. That's awesome.
Okay.
That's great, Erik. So
yay, the time has
open
come.
up that portal of manifestation for you.
Yay.
Yes.
Thank you all so much. That's my one little itty-bitty question this time. And as always, Mama Medhus, you are amazing. I just love that you're sharing so much
Erik.
of yourself, and you're sharing. We have all just kind of taken this very personal walk with you, and it just blows my mind that you're coming through this so strong.
Well, you know what? I'll do anything for my baby. I will do anything. This is what he wants from me, and I can't say no. I can't just make his death a tragic waste. This is what he wants me to do. He's called upon me to bring him a platform and for me to be his little secretary and lackey. And by God, I'm going to do it because I will do anything for my children.
Aww.
I love you, Erik. I love both of my Eriks now.
Oh, thank you so much. I love you. I love all of you guys. Have a great night. All right, I'm going to listen to somebody else's turn now.
Thank you. Thanks so much for calling, Erik.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Let's take another one. I will say really briefly that, as I dutifully am supposed to do, that we are broadcasting courtesy of liveparanormal.com. You guys need to check out their channel. Just go to liveparanormal.com and you'll see what I'm talking about. They got some cool stuff here. Or as Erik would say, they got some cool shit. So now we are talking to area code 714. Hi.
Hi. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great.
What is your name?
I'm Moran, by the way.
What's your name?
Moran.
Moran. Oh, that's a pretty
Moran,
name. I've never heard that before. I like that, Moran.
Oh, thanks.
What you got for Erik?
All right. Erik told me to call today, so I called. I just wondered if you could help me, speak to me about my illness, and what's going with that. There's so much of it, and it just gets overwhelming.
All right. So, I guess he's going to explain the purpose behind it. Is that what you're wanting? Is that what you're hoping, Moran?
Well, it's the purpose. I mean, it's I've just been doing so much spiritual work, and it's I don't know where I'm at with it, and have I learned what I need to learn? I mean, there's anything that he can tell me, I guess.
Okay. He says, why don't we do this? He says, instead of talking about the purpose, he says, what I like to help people do is live a happy life, a fulfilling life. So why don't I give you some things to help you focus on, to help you begin to heal yourself? He says, because if you believe in yourself and you believe that that's possible, you will see that it's possible. Whatever you're going through, he makes me feel like it's largely related to a lack of self-acceptance or image approval. I'm not really sure how to explain that. Insecurities, insecure with self-image. So he says focus on, and this isn't just surface level, okay, I like the way I look, I like the way I dress. It's more so about your character and who you are and the way you uphold your character, the way you express yourself. He says work on strengthening the ways you know yourself and the ways you express yourself and accepting yourself in that process in order to allow healing to occur. Because whatever I feel like you're dealing with, it seems like it's in multiple areas of the body or it's affecting you in multiple ways. It almost feels like it affects, I don't know if it affects your mobility or your...
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
A little bit,
It makes me feel like I don't even feel independent in my mobility or self-sustainable, what's the word I'm looking for? Endurance. So he says it's energetically a low vibration to not accept yourself completely. And sometimes we don't even realize that we don't accept ourselves. But it's not just about image. It's much deeper. It's your character, who you are, and who you are in different relationships. Maybe you had a really rough upbringing and your relationship with your dad is awful, but that doesn't define who you are. So being able to accept that that's a part of my past, but I don't allow it to define me now. So kind of going back to what he was talking about earlier, being very present in the now and not in the past, even in yesterday, in what you struggled with yesterday versus today, to allow yourself to begin to heal. He says because your body, your cells, are going to respond to your thoughts. So if you're constantly thinking about ways you've struggled, your body is going to continue to manifest that for you. If you continually tell your body...
Can I ask two real quick questions?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. My first question is, does this have anything to do with another life, and would therefore past life regression help? And my next question is, how can someone accept themselves if they don't?
Okay, to the first question, I don't feel like it's related. He says no, it's not related to a past life. He says hypnotherapy would be effective in kind of diving deeper into the ways that you struggle with self-acceptance. So kind of answering the second question, how does one accept themselves when they maybe have had a traumatic life or have gone through things that they feel like they can't accept? What is it that you're denying? What is it that you're resisting? So hypnotherapy, he says, can be very effective in helping you to reveal to yourself what it is that you're denying, what it is that you're in denial of yourself, among yourself.
Okay, because I don't even
wordy,
know.
But
I mean,
hopefully hopefully you can understand what he's saying. But
so you think it's at a very deep subconscious level that she is not consciously aware of right now?
Yeah, because he's making me feel like the hypnotherapy is going to be more effective because sometimes when it's this deep, he says consciously you can't dig it up and address it because you may not even know it exists. It's kind of like looking for stuff in the dark. If you can't see anything in the dark, how are you going to find it? So you need something else to shine that light for you. And he says that something else would be hypnotherapy.
Okay. Is there anything she could do on her own?
He says he's acknowledging your fears and apprehensions, and he says to challenge yourself. So he is also acknowledging that your fears and apprehensions about yourself and the way that you're dealing with your illness is kind of holding you back. So, for example, let's say it's like, I'm not sure I should go to that event because I get fatigued really easy and I may not have the endurance, so I don't think I'm going to go. He says you're actually limiting yourself with your fears and apprehensions. You're underestimating what you can do physically, he says. So as far as you specifically, how to help yourself, don't underestimate what you can do physically.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm also thinking about going to seek alternative treatment instead as well, because it's just, it's basically, it's cancer and it's in my bones, and I'm like, it's really tough to like want to be a patient for the rest of your life, because they say it's like chronic, and I just have a hard time fighting that, and so I've been like looking into
what
like
kind of
alternative
cancer is it?
things.
What kind of cancer are we talking about?
It was breast cancer, but it metastasized to my bones 4 years later.
Mhm. Okay.
So it's like, wow,
Erik says...
So what can you do, Erik?
He says that holistic remedies, now we might ruffle some feathers here, but he says holistic remedies are just going to be more effective in the healing perspective than some pharmaceuticals. So he's
For
just
example,
recommending... What was that?
For example, what can she take or do specifically?
Well, I'm looking into specifically like an alternative place in Germany that seems to kind of like deal with the whole body rather than just because they gave me a drug too, and then that drug I believe gave me double vision, and so now I'm like, thanks.
Oh no.
You know?
Oh.
Yeah. So it's like it's been hard to be like fearless because there's just these like things that happen.
Sure.
You know?
It is hard. Yeah.
He says.
So Erik, what can she do?
He says a holistic approach is going to. That's the whole concept. Is treating the whole body, not just the illness, because the whole body is affected. You have to be able to take that into consideration. He says, and oftentimes pharmaceuticals don't. Pharmaceuticals can wreak havoc throughout the rest of the body, but may try to target an illness locally. But he says holistic remedies, holistic courses. He makes me feel like it's going to be a course, like not just like taking a supplement, but I feel like it's a program you're going to be involved in.
It's a program, yeah.
And he says there's going to be a whole array of holistic herbal medicines that, tinctures and things that are going to be mixed that, again, treat the whole body, because if the whole body can't support the ill part of the body, then it's kind of going to be ineffective in just treating the illness. So you kind of like you have to have the whole body healthy in order to have it help itself,
including the emotional component of self-acceptance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
so,
that's interesting.
Yeah, very. I guess I never thought about it that way.
It's really.
Well, thank you for calling.
Incredible. Thank you. Tell Erik too. I
can
feel him actually right now go through me. It was really weird, but yeah.
Oh,
wow. Oh, maybe he's giving you a hug. Erik, are you giving her a hug?
He says yes. He says, why wouldn't I?
Oh.
He says,
that's awesome.
He
Help
says,
her
I
out,
love
Erik.
you, and I hope you continue to believe in yourself. He says, don't lose faith in yourself.
I won't. Thanks. Thanks, guys.
You're welcome.
Sure.
Bye. All right, have a good day. Bye.
You too. All right, let's see if we have time for one more, hopefully a quick call from the 214 area code. Hi. Do you have a
Hi, how are you?
Question? Hi. I hope you have a short question because we're going to, I can't run into the other show.
Okay, this is Mitra. Thank you so much for talking to you because you helped me a lot. And lovely Erik, I know do I have any past lifetime with Erik, because every time when I listen to Erik, I make me cry, and he's so pure for me, so pure.
Oh wow!
Oh, maybe he was your, maybe you were his mom before.
I don't know, but
I don't know.
I have a lot of feeling about Erik. The first one, when I watched the YouTube from Erik, I think 6 months ago, I didn't sleep for 24 hours, and I think I watched 10 of them, and I was just crying. I said, thank you, God, you helped me a lot, because I have a lot of questions, and he's so pure, and every time when I walking, everything, I'm talking to Erik, and I know I can communicate with him.
Wow.
So Erik, have you had another life with Mitra?
He says that you guys you've been siblings in the past, and the reason why you feel, he says the reason why you feel such a connection in this life is because we're both so centered in heart awareness. He says we're connected through the heart. So
wow.
He's actually saying siblings, that you've been siblings. So
well, who was it a brother sister, sister, brother?
He says it was still they were same genders. He was male, she was female, brother sister, but she was older.
Who was older? You were the big sister, and he was the pestery younger brother. That's what it was. Oh, how sweet. Oh.
Erik, right now I have a question, and many times I ask you about my son. He's 11 years old. He has a corpus callosum thick, and when I was pregnant, I was so, because I came to U.S. and after 2 months I was pregnant, and I had a bad time that one, and the reason after Armen was born, he had a corpus callosum, and the doctor told me because you had a lot of stress that time. And that affect to Armen. He's about speech and communication and everything. He's behind. He's 11 years old. He's a sweet boy. Everybody love him, and everybody look at him. Say, he's from God. He's from God. He's so sensitive, but I'm so worried about his future.
All right, can you say, Erik, tell her one, because we're going to run into this other show. Can you tell her one thing that will help her in this dilemma, this situation?
He says, you know that he comes from God, so let God take care of this. He says, rest your worry, because worry you can manifest something over him that you don't want. So he says, let God take care of this, knowing that that's where he came from. He says, don't worry, God has
let go and let God. Yeah.
And about
all right, well,
and about the Alzheimer's cure, if coming, Armen is cured too.
Is what?
What was that?
Alzheimer, because the doctors told me if the Alzheimer cure is coming, Armen is cured too.
Oh, is a cure coming?
Alzheimer, about Alzheimer's.
Alzheimer's.
Oh. Yeah. He says on the brink. He says on the brink.
All right, well, we got to close this, Mitra, and I just want to thank you for calling. Thank you so much for calling.
Thank you.
And I want to remind everybody that Erik's got his 8-city tour coming up. Check it out on the blog. Check out his life-changing book, My Life After Death. And please, please, please check out the blog, channelingerik.com. Erik spelled with a K. We have the Channeling Erik Facebook page also, and a private Channeling Erik Facebook group. But the most important thing is check out Kim's website, kimbabcock.net, KIMBABCOCK.net. And until next time, we will see you guys. And then after that, Kim and I are going to be gone on vacation. I'm going to go to the wedding of a blog member in Ireland. Can you believe that?
That is awesome.
Until then, that's going to be awesome. But we will be on the show. We will have our show next Thursday, but the following Thursday we won't. So, everybody, I love you. Thanks for joining us. And until next time,
take care. Bye-bye.
Bye. I love you so much, Erik. Bye, Kim. I love you.
Bye. Love you. Love you guys. Erik says, I love you, Mom.
Bye.
Bye-bye.